Hello everyone, welcome to JavaExpert. In today's video, we will discuss about aggregator design pattern in microservices architecture. What is aggregator design pattern? Aggregator design pattern is the one of simplest design pattern in microservices architecture. Aggregator design pattern can be implemented as a aggregator service, which will call more than one services based on the needs and collate the response. For example, client is requesting for a particular resource from the service, right? But to fulfill the client's request, we need a response from multiple microservices. And that is the case, and that is the place we should use this aggregated design pattern, right? So by seeing this simple diagram, you can be able to understand easily how this aggregate design pattern will be designed, right? Here, client is calling service 1, right? But to fulfill the client's requirement, the service 1 needs to call service 2 and service 3, and service 1 needs to aggregate the responses of service 2 and service 3, and that is the response for the client, right? So I think by seeing this diagram, you can able to understand easily how this aggregate design pattern is going to work. Right, now we are getting to the coding part. We will now explore this aggregate design pattern in practical world. So guys, we already created account and fund transfer services and we have tested it in our previous video. And in our previous video, we have created our Spring API gateway also, and we have tested with that, right? If you guys not aware of how to create simple microservices using Springboot, please go through our previous videos. You can able to understand easily, right? So now today we are going to create aggregated design pattern in practical, right? So first we'll set our goal, we'll set our requirement clear first. Okay, here the requirement is we are going to create a report microservices, basically a report microservice. When a client is requesting for a report service, you'll give input as one particular account code, right? What the client is expecting is he needs the account information as well as the transactions happen through those accounts. So that's the expected response, right? So in this case, when you're calling this report service, the report service needs to call account service also to get the account information, as well as the report service would call fund transfer also, so get the transactions done through those account, right? Got it? Okay, so now if you see this requirement, we need response of one particular account, right? By giving one particular account, that your service needs to now retrieve the one particular account's details and the transaction done for that particular account, right? So if you know how we done the account and fund transfer, we don't have that endpoint to retrieve for a specific account code. We have endpoint for, if you take a account service, we have the endpoint for create account and get accounts, which means it will get all the accounts. It's not for one specific account, right? So now before creating the report service, you will create one more endpoint in the account and fund transfer services to get the particular accounts a result as a response, right? So we will create the endpoint first, right? So for that to know, for it to get one particular one account details from the account service, we'll create an endpoint. So before that, we'll go to the service first. So here in the interface part first, we will add that method first. So what are we expecting? We're expecting only one account as a response, or put new method as a get account, and it will return only one account. So there is no list here. We'll implement that method also, right? So what it's to return, so it should get account code as an input, right? So account code. So here also we have to provide that, right? So return we have a repository dot. So here we have used save method and find all method in the JPR repository. Now we are going to use find by ID. So when we use find by ID, by default it will search based on the primary key we have used it, right? We are not mentioning which field it is, but we are using find by ID. By default it's going to be a primary key of that particular table, right? So here account code. So in accounts table, in the account service, the account code is the primary key, is the ID which I used it, right? So you can go and check that. If you go to this account, what you use as ID here is account code, right? So that will be used here. What is the error we are getting here? Okay, so it may be null sometimes. Suppose if you are not getting, if there is no data for the given account, it will throw the error, right? It will get some null pointer kind of things, right? So in here we have to use dot get. So when you're using this dot get, if you get the value you will get it, if no you will get some no such element exception kind of thing, will get it, right? Why you have to use, all right, account of string, let's save. Okay. So now our service is ready. I'll go to controller. I'll add, just put copy paste here. We'll make it first. So here when we want to call this method, we need account code as a parameter, right? So get account, we will use path variable here, right? What it means, we are putting after slash, we have put this one curly brace and put here, it is like a query parameter. You can provide it here, not like a query parameter exactly, it is a path variable. Right. Right, so our account service is done. So if you call this endpoint and passing one particular account code, that particular account area alone we will get as an object, right? So account service is done. Now I'll do the same thing in fund transfer also. So in case of fund transfer, you just look at the model here. What is the ID we provided? It's a transaction ID, right? It's a primary key, we have provided it, but we need a data, we need output based on the account code from, because we have a criteria, filter criteria is account code only, right? So how we can do that here? Okay, so here this is the place we have to go to our repository. So here what we can do is we need to define our own method here, right? So just like public, what we need output, we are expecting list of fund transfer, right? We are expecting output as a list of fund transfer based on the account code as an input. Now we have to create our custom method, find by, and okay, find by what, based on account code from, right? I think account from. So we have to give that method name like this, account from. That's it. So we need going to pass an input for that, right? We are going to pass input as string of account code. How does work mean? See, okay, so find by, if by default we have put a find by ID, it will take primary key for the filter class, right? If you are providing find by account from, okay, you will go to fund transfer and what we are giving account from. So the value which you're passing in the argument, it will be filtered with this field, right? So we have to give this exact name, account from. So first letter we have to provide, you have to mention in the caps. So find by account from. That's it. Simple, right? Okay. Next, we'll go to our service. So we'll add that particular method. We need a list of fund transfer here also. Okay, transaction for account. So it will be account code. That's it, right? We will implement it here. Right. So we already created custom method in the repository dot. So you will get here find by account from and account code as the parameter. Simple, right? Yeah. So this is done. Now I'll go to the controller. Same way, add one more endpoint here. So okay, transactions, transaction for account. So here right. So now our fund transfer and account services are done. So now we'll create our actual aggregator service, that is report service. We'll go new starter project. These things you already know. So we'll create report service. Right. Next, here we need only this Springboot because we don't use any database here, right? Because this report service is not going to store anything here. It is going to call account and fund transfer service, and it's going to aggregate the response of both, and it's going to send back to the client, right? So we don't need any other dependency here. And finish. Okay, now the report project is building is happening. Okay. Yes, now report service is ready. In the resource, we'll mention the application name and port here. Service. We'll run with 777 support. That's it, right? That's enough as of now. Now we'll create model package. And we'll create service. And we'll create a controller. Right. So now we'll create a model classes. So what report service is going to do, it's going to call account and fund transfer. So we need these two models first. We can copy from our actual account and fund transfer model package. And just copy paste to report service and fund transfer also. Right, we'll get some error, we'll sort out. Here we have given some entity, JPA related annotations here, basically this entity related annotation which will map to database. It is not required here because report service is not going to deal with any of database activities, right? You have to remove these things. So we will remove those things from here because these things are not required actually, right? So now we have account and fund transfer model. We need one more model to aggregate these two, right? So we'll create a class, create class of transaction details, right? What it's going to have, it will have account and list of transactions, right? List of, basically list of fund transfer. Right, so this is what we are expecting as a response. No, if users giving one particular account code, we need that account details for the provided account and the list of transactions happen with those account, right? Done. Okay, now our model is done. Now we will write our service. We'll keep it as an interface instead of class. Okay, we'll change it over there. So it's I don't know, whenever you're using a service layer, so creating interface and implementing it is a good practice to make our components loosely coupled. We will be passing a phone code, right? Now we will implement that. We will implement that. So now here is the place where we have to invoke report service, account and fund transfer service, right? So we got a parameter as account. So this is a place you have to invoke account and fund transfer service, right? Let's do that. So for that, see, when you want to call other microservices, basically we will know, normally we call it as inter-service communication, right? There we have many ways to do that, right? We can do it synchronized call, we can do a synchronous call, we can do message brokers, right? There are many ways. So we are going to use here REST template, right? Just see, it's the REST template is a client which we can use to invoke the services. Okay, so for that we need a REST template object first. So I'll do that. REST template builder. we have to auto wire this. Yeah, okay, now we have a REST template builder object here. So here REST template builder dot build dot, what are we going to get as a response from the account service? We're going to get a account object. So we have to use the method get for object, right? So get for object, what is the endpoint and what is the expected response type? Response type will be account at class, right? This is the expected, this is the response type you're expecting, and the endpoint. So our account service is running in localhost with 333 port, and you have to give the actual no endpoint here, like banking slash account slash get account, and you have to, here we have to provide the account code which you are passing as an argument, right? Right. So what is the response you are getting? It account. So account response. Next we need transaction details, basically fund transfer details. Okay, so dot build dot for object, right? So here endpoint will be it's running with the 555 port, right? 555 banking fund transfer get transactions for account, then account code. Okay, this endpoint. And what is the no response we're expecting? It's a list of fund transfer. So here I have to provide list class. So this is the object type we are expecting it. So the response will be list of fund transfer, right? So now it's done. Now we have a response of account and fund transfer. So we'll create the object for transaction data. So this is the object which we'll use to aggregate account and fund transfer responses, right? Now transaction details dot set account response dot set fund transfer response. Right now the aggregated object is ready. We will return that. Fine. Now we have called both account and fund transfer service for the given account code, and we have done the aggregation also. Now we'll write the controller. Right. We'll write endpoint here. transaction details. So here is the place. We'll mention our path variable. It will be account code. Right. So we'll auto-wire this service. Right. So I think we made one mistake here. That is in the implementation, right? Import. In implementation, we have to use that service annotation, so that in this service class object will be created with a container that we can able to auto wire here. So we'll call the service method dot the transaction details of account code, right? So I think we have done that. Let's have a check here. Implementation, we call using the REST template here, and we are getting the response from both, and do the aggregation. Yeah, I've done. Now we will start our account and fund transfer service, and then we will now start report service, and we'll do the testing. Yes, account service is started. Next we'll go to fund transfer. We are not using the gateway here. So also we can use, but this testing we are not using it. If you want to understand how this gateway works, you can go through our previous video. Now our account and fund transfer services are up and running. Now we will start our report service. Yes, now all three services are running. Now we'll go to Postman. So first we'll create few account and we'll do few transaction so that our report service will work, right? We need some data to try the report. So first I'll go to create account. Yeah, so this is a create account. Yes, so account code this 14x01 created. I'll create one more account with the savings account. Yes, 2 account were created. I'll create one more. Name is Java. Only Java. Yes, we have created 3 accounts. Now we'll do some transaction using this account. Yes, in fund transfers, process transaction, right? We'll do that. So transaction number 1 and from account this one, and 2 account we can give anything. Yes, we are not used this 2 account for a filter. Give some 2 account. I'll do that. Yes, transaction 1 is created. So transaction 2, the same from account, right? Same account. Only some change the beneficiary name just to differentiate it, right? Now you've done 2 transactions with this particular from account. Now another one. On number 2 with some amount of 500 different IFS done, right? Yes. Now we'll create 4 with the same from account. We'll change 2 account to this one and send. Right. I'll perform 5. the third account will be this one, right? Okay, now we have performed 5 transactions. Okay, now we will check how this report service works. Okay, what is the endpoint you have provided for report service? We'll get it from there. Okay, so okay, we missed this one major thing. 1 minute. We'll stop the report service here. Okay, so this is REST controller, right? We missed this one. And request mapping. /report. Okay, so here remove that one. So banking/report/gets transaction details, and you have to give account code in the path variable. So here we have changed this one 777 banking and report get transaction of 1. Okay, before that we will start the service here. Yes, now it is up and running. Now we'll have a check. We're getting some error. Let's see. Okay, I think the path we are providing seems wrong. Banking report the transaction details in account, right? Report the transaction details and this one, right? Okay, this fund transfer is wrong. Okay, fund transfer, what is the endpoint for this one? Banking fund transfer get transaction for account. Get transaction for account, not transactions actually. I think this is the problem. Now try it again. Okay, all we are running. Now give a try. Yes, we got a response. Just see the response how it is. See, we gave account as this one, right? 14x01, and we are getting account details here and the fund transfers. We perform 2 transactions using that account, so we got it. Now let's change it here to transaction account number 2. So we will get another 2 transactions, right? Transaction number 3 and 4. Account details also there. And 3, we perform 1 transaction, so we are getting this one, right? So I hope you understand how this aggregator design pattern works. So that's it guys for this video, and in the next session we will learn some another design pattern in the microservice architecture. So thanks for watching. Keep supporting. Bye.